If you've taken American history class in the last 70 years, you were probably taught about how President FDR ended the Great Depression with the New Deal. But did it really? In New Deal or Raw Deal, historian Burton Folsom Jr. reevaluates this claim and turns up a different narrative that might actually challenge the views which is regularly taught. My name is Grant, welcome to GH Books, and this is a book review. So this book is about the New Deal and its impact on the economy and our modern political culture. It rebirthed a political patronage system that previous administrations had tried to do away with. However, this system was of the federal government bribing local and state governments to take money in exchange for enacting certain mandates and regulations. The main thesis of this book is that the New Deal slowed down economic recovery and changed what people's expectations of government were to be, rather from being something that simply protected your rights to something that provided you with a living. I found the book very interesting in how it gave an alternative view of the Great Depression and the New Deal, contrary to what is popularly given in academia and pop culture. And this view is seemingly supported by the fact that we did eventually get out of the Great Depression after the New Deal was enacted. Most don't question this interpretation because they are unfamiliar with the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. In English, that means they believe that if one thing happened after another thing, then it happened because of that first thing. I agree with the thesis of this book. It does a good job in explaining the economic consequences of the New Deal programs and how it matches the basic knowledge of economics we have today. The author talks about programs like the National Recovery Administration, or NRA, and how they created monopolies by enforcing price floors on goods and services within innumerable industries. It follows logic that when you establish price floors, you create a surplus. And in the case of the Great Depression, it created a surplus in labor, which means unemployment. A number of times he brings up the story of FDR's Treasury Secretary Henry Morgenthau Jr., a very good friend of the president. Testifying before a congressional committee, he says, "We have tried spending money. We are spending more than we have ever spent before, and it does not work. After 8 years of this administration, we have just as much unemployment as when we started, and an enormous debt to boot." You don't see this kind of public opposition to your boss's administration unless it is beyond all known precedents. Now, some of you are probably thinking, if FDR's policies were so bad, how did he get elected 4 times? The author's answer to that question is that President Roosevelt did create jobs. However, they were only temporary, and they were created in the months leading up to the election so that the economy looked better, and therefore people would associate that with the current administration and therefore vote him back into office. You will find similar stories in Amity Shley's books, The Forgotten Man, and a number of newer works on the Great Depression. The message this book puts forward is very important in our own time. For the president who's spending more and more on programs that are supposed to create jobs and help the economy, we are seeing the New Deal play itself out all over again. And we need to learn the lessons of the Great Depression so that we can get out of the Great Recession and avoid more bad policies in the future. If the kind of policies within the New Deal are incapable of curing an economic downturn, then what are? Let's have a discussion in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. Keep reading, and I'll see you next time.